How we doing? Fox back again. Another sort of mixing, stereo placement, drum sort of tutorial today. Yeah, I'm going to start sharing a little bit more about how I do my mixing of drums and other things like that. This is a little remix I've been working on for the past couple of hours. It's going to be an old school jungle sort of feel to it. I've set it at 141 BPM. I may speed it up a little bit. I'm just going to play you a bit and then I'm going to solo the drums and talk to you about how I've done the mixing, the placement, and yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Don't wanna fight the feeling now. Don't know, keep it breathing for life. Don't wake me from dreaming. I don't wanna fight this feeling. While we're rising in the sunlight, we go till we out of time.
Yeah, that's it. It's coming along nicely. So the drums are as follows. Right, so how I've got this, I've got the kick on a channel on its own, because I've done a lot of processing on the drum group as a whole and stuff that I didn't want the kick to be affected by. So the kick, certainly when I'm doing this sort of drum and bass or this old schooly stuff, I would always do the kick on a separate channel. The rest of the drums, everything, I've got going into a group. I've then grouped this group, duplicated the chain. I've done processing on two different sides, which we'll go through later on. But for now, we're going to solo. We're going to solo just the one group on its own. We'll talk about all the different elements. So the kick. This is a kick I made inside Serum. If anybody wants a tutorial on how I did this, I can do it. There's nothing to it. Bit of distortion, some compression. It's just one oscillator, a transient that I've chose. I'll get a little bit extra kick by this resonant high pass filter. Flick it back and forward. It's a neat trick if you need a bit more punch on your kicks. Yeah, so that is the kick. I then have 3 breaks, 2 claps. The first break is this Shackles one. This is being processed by Nectar 2. I've done a tutorial on this before. If I turn Nectar off, let's remove the send on the group. Turn Nectar back on. Followed many of the steps in the tutorial I've done the other day. I've turned the gate on. I'm doing a bit of EQing and the compressor just to help tone it all in. It's mainly the gate cutting out the fizziness of the break. A lot of these breaks have a lot of highs that weren't processed good when they were made. The gate just helps make it a bit more punchy. This one I've got side chained to the kick also. You can hear that ducking. Just to get out of the way of the kick. I've got that one pan 20 to the right because it had a lot of similar frequencies to this one in regards to the high content. This one is pan 20 to the left. This one is side chained as well. A bit of bass EQ and just cut everything below sort of 200 hertz on this. So those two together with the slight panning. Nothing too crazy so far. I then have this snapper break. This is one I like to use a lot. This was a clap that I took from the snapper break actually. Let's move this one up. This is the other break. Quite a bit going on this one. I've got some EQing again, cutting everything below 240, 235 hertz. Still letting a lot through, so then I've applied another EQ at 158 to cut it out again. The S1 imager is pushing it really wide. If I mute that, yeah, what did I do with this? The panning I did in lane. You don't need to do this, but they had a lot of like cowbelly sort of knocks on this, and one way of making those stand out is by doing the track panning. On every hit I've panned one hard left and then hard right. You can really hear that. Going to the shuffly beat. That is all pretty straightforward. So all three of the breaks. Then the two claps. So this one is a rip from a break, which is from our breaks library. It's called Snapper. Ableton's just decided to freak out on me. No. You can hear that real cracky, old schooly sort of snare that I wanted. I've then layered it with 808 clap. I've done a little reverse flick at the end, which a lot of these old school drum and bassy things had. Yeah, this is all real basic stuff. Again, 20 to the left, 20 to the right. I may push these a bit further so they don't get in with the brakes, or even pull them down a bit, thinking about it. We'll try 10 and 10. I just wanted them to have a little bit of stereo placement apart from each other. A little bit of compression on the 808 clap. One of them's going to the reverb. Again, this is all basic stuff. How I've made them all come together is on the group stage. So what I've got going on here is I grouped it. You can right click, group, it sends it in a group, and then you press this little thing open and it puts it in a chain. I then duplicated the chain. So one of them I've just kept exactly how it is as standard. You can see there's nothing put on the end of it apart from an imager, just giving it a bit of width. This image is a really useful tool because it maintains the mono compatibility. That's this line going down the middle. Although it is giving it width, if you were to play it on a mono system, it would still keep the mono compatibility, which is why I always try and use this if I can rather than panning. So yeah, that one is just nothing really. This glue compressor and the limiter is on the end, glue compressing all the drums and the two layers together. This second layer is where I've done some interesting stuff. If you listen to it compared to the original, really punchy, and how we've done that is with the Transient Master. We'll turn the stereo imager and the compressor off. So this is Native Instruments Transient Master. If you're making drum and bass, you're going to need this, or you're going to need a transient shaper of some description. I would recommend this to anybody. It's so simple. It's basically a compressor, but it limits all of the controls down to 3. You can increase the attack of the sound or the punch of the transients, or you can increase or decrease the sustain of the transients, so how long it holds on to them after it's grabbed hold to them. It's virtually attack and sustain, attack and release of a compressor in reverse. So yeah, the Transient Master is turned off. If I turn it on, really punchy. I've boosted the attack to 53% and pulled the sustain down 50%. I mean, look, if I gradually bring each of them back, you can see exactly what it's doing. Decreasing the sustain. That alone doesn't really make it punchy enough, so increase the attack. It grabs hold of all the clicks and the punches and the transients of the clap and all the little bongo hits and that, whatever they are. The reason why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to add a bit of extra punch to the breaks without trying to compress everything and make everything sound real slammed. So good way to do this: split the chain, put a Transient Master, and then blend this with the original signal. So if I play this one on its own and then unsolo it so it brings the punchy, more attacky one in with it. You can really hear the difference that's making. Also on the chain I've done some stereo imaging. I kept this one really centered, the punch. I wanted the punch of the attack of the sound to be middle, and then the one that we didn't apply the Transient Master to just feel the spectrum that it did anyway. And then a bit of compression just to bring it all together. Tiny bit of gain reduction. It's hardly doing anything, it's just keeping it all in check. And as I say, on the actual channel, it's the glue compressor then mixing all the drums together. Bit of limiting just to keep it in check. It's lazy boy, really. I should go in and dial all the volumes down. But yeah, I thought that was a real cool trick, splitting the chain, using the Transient Master to create a more punchy side of the breaks, and then mixing it back together with the original. So yeah, the only other thing I did then, yeah, one of the 808 claps had a bit of reverb send on it, nothing too drastic. Then I've got this Send C. Now, the RC48, I bang on about this a lot. It is a brilliant reverb, but it's got some drum plates and stuff that are designed for drums. But I wanted this to have a metal twang, you know, like the old school jungle sounded like it was banging on pipes. I mean, you can use the Corpus effect for this inside Ableton, but it's a bit fiddly. There's a preset inside the RC48 called Metal Verb. So yeah, I've dropped it on a send, put it to wet, which is where it's designed to be. So anyway, enough talking. You hear what happens if I crank this send up. So I'm just going to bring it in slowly. If I push it really high, you can see why it's called Metal Verb. It's like resonating it around inside a metal bin or something like that. But yeah, I only had this on -19. Or -12, I believe. Giving it that tin canny sort of edge. I probably will need to do some EQing on the end of this to filter out some problem frequencies, I would imagine. Taking off that bit of ringing, but yeah, this Metal Verb or any sort of reverb you can get to emulate a metallic place. I don't use Ableton's reverb anymore, but I didn't have a look in there really. Basement, empty club, filtered out Forest 4, hallucinate large space, chorus, mega flexion, oil barrel. So maybe that would work. Let's mute the RC48. Let's drag this oil barrel on. Nothing like it. So yeah, you can push that as hard as you want. I mean, you could duplicate the whole group and then drop it directly on it so you can have a real fine blend between the metal one and the other one. But yeah, for me that worked really, really well. So it acted sort of a glue. Putting all the drums into a reverb helps it have its own space, but with that metallic twang, it helped to glue all the sounds together. So again, without. Made them more coherent, made them sound like one entity, and then the glue compressor again on the end of the group, bringing it all together. I've got a bit of EQing on that Metal Verb. You don't want any subs going into it or any bass, so I've got negative anything 155 Hz down. Then I'll send this whole group, all of those breaks that we've just done, to another channel, which is the drum bus, along with the kick. So I can blend them with the kick and do some glue compression on them together. You want a reasonably slow attack, so you let the transients of the kick and the clack through, quite a fast release so that it snaps quite back quickly. I normally aim for 2 dBs of gain reduction and then push the makeup back up so you're not losing any of the overall volume. Simple as that really, nothing on the kick. I always notch out this part. I mean, if I solo it. If you can remove something, if you can remove a chunk like that and it not have an overall effect to the sound, I would always recommend doing it. I mean, I'll 8B it again. So the EQ off. Just adds a tiny little bit more clarity. It's carving out that little section there for your snare and other things that are going to be in the way. I do that virtually on every kick that I use. So these are the sections I'll be going through when the track's finished. We'll bring the bass back in. The plucks. Vocal. So yeah, really pleased with those. I always do this sort of mixing and fine EQing as I'm going along. I normally build up sort of an 8 or 16 bar loop with everything in it. If you've seen any of my full track workouts before, then you'll know how I work. I'll do this, I'll try and mix it to the best I can. It makes it easier when you're doing the arrangement, not have to go back and fine tweak everything. But yeah, neat trick. The main thing I wanted to show was splitting the frequencies and then blending in that more punchier Transient Master version with it to add some more punch to your drums. Yeah, please subscribe if you enjoyed this or any of my other tutorials. Stay tuned, many more. Oh, if you're wondering about this skin, I got it from Blue Screen. Type in Blue Screen Ableton skins into Google, and yeah, there's a load more cool skins you can get for free. Yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.